Staff, are you ready? All right. So I'm going to call to order this meeting of the City Council on May 12th. City Clerk, would you establish quorum, please?
Councilmember Daley.
Here.
Councilmember Weinberg.
Here.
Vice Mayor Lang.
Here.
Mayor Meadows.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. If you have a device, please put it on silent or mute, no matter how pleasing the tone may be. Thank you. So I'm going to lead us in the pledge tonight. So for those, if you're able, please stand and follow me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we had no closed session, so I have no report to offer on a closed session. Now, colleagues, is there any suggested change to the order of a rather concise agenda anyway? Would be hard to change, no? All right. So with that, I'm going to move on to a special item. I'm going to read a proclamation recognizing May as Affordable Housing Month. And we have to receive it, Corey Walbach from SV at Home. Let me read it from here. So, whereas an affordable place to call home provides everyone an opportunity to thrive, making our community stronger, healthier, more inclusive, and more prosperous, and ensuring that people of all income levels have access to a home they can afford helps build strong and resilient communities. And affordable housing is a basic human right, and yet each year thousands of Silicon Valley families and individuals struggle to find an affordable home in one of the most expensive housing markets in the nation. And the City of Los Altos is actively working to reduce barriers to the production and preservation of affordable housing by collaborating with a network of organizations to deliver essential services, strengthen tenant protections, support innovative housing solutions, and advance efforts to end homelessness. And the City of Los Altos earned a pro-housing designation from California's Housing and Community Development Department by streamlining affordable housing projects, including eliminating ADU fees, leveraging city-owned land for affordable housing, and boosting density for projects serving extremely low-income and senior residents. And whereas organizations in Santa Clara County, such as Silicon Valley at Home and Los Altos Affordable Housing Alliance, are dedicated to furthering safe, stable, permanent, and affordable housing, and are collaboratively working to provide high-quality, affordable homes that will serve as lasting community assets for generations to come. Therefore, I, Sally Meadows, Mayor, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of May as Affordable Housing Month. So now, Corey, I will give you, do you want to speak for a moment or two, or do you want to just do the photo op? Okay, why don't you make a few remarks and then we'll do the photo op.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me okay? Great.
It should work.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council members, City staff. My name is Corey Wolbach. I'm the Civic Leadership Manager at Silicon Valley at Home, or SV at Home. Thank you for inviting us to join you in recognizing Affordable Housing Month. We are really proud to receive Los Altos' Affordable Housing Month proclamation and glad to see this important recognition of how critical affordable housing is for our communities. As a local nonprofit, SV at Home advocates for practical solutions to meet the housing needs of residents across Santa Clara County. Our theme for Affordable Housing Month this year is All In for Housing. We're excited to coordinate dozens of events throughout the month of May, hosted by SV at Home and our many partners. We encourage everyone to visit siliconvalleyathome.org/events to find virtual and in-person events where you can learn and connect with your neighbors. It's no secret that our need remains great across every city and town. Nearly half of Santa Clara County's renters are cost burdened. Too many of our residents have been priced out of their homes or out of the region, and local cities, schools, and small businesses are really struggling to recruit and retain talent, in large part due to housing costs. That's why your continued leadership is so essential. Our work focuses on the 3 Ps: production, preservation, and protection. That means building new housing, preserving the existing affordable housing that we have, and protecting our most vulnerable residents from housing instability. By investing in affordable housing, we are securing the future and the well-being of all our residents and communities. We invite you to join us in envisioning, planning, and creating a future with safe, stable, and affordable homes for all. Thank you again for your partnership and leadership this Affordable Housing Month. Great. Thank you again.
Okay, so now we will move on to public comments on items not on the agenda. City Clerk, do you have any speaker cards?
Yes, I have one.
Okay. Let's do 2 minutes, please.
2 minutes. Julia Raposa.
Good evening. In honor of Affordable Housing Month, I want to read this quote by Fox and Friends personality. It says, Jones was talking on Fox and Friends on Wednesday about public money spent on trying to help homeless people and suggested that those that don't accept services offered to them should be jailed, or involuntary lethal injection or something, Kilmeade said. Just kill them. Let me repeat that for you. Or involuntary lethal injection or something, Kilmeade said. Just kill them. Earhart interjected, why did it get to this point? Kilmeade replied, I will say this, we're not voting for the right people. So I want to point out to you, Larry, one of our previous meetings, you mentioned that we could have much less humane people in the city council. And I'll have to agree with you entirely, case in point. But I also need to ask you, where do they go? Stockton Homeless Encampment returns hours after city cleanup. Churchgoers nearby and homeless advocates are calling the city to implement permanent solutions. We have a camp that has been displaced over 10 times in multiple communities. The most recent one, they had a police escort to help them cross the street, but pushing them along the way when they said they were too tired to go anymore, telling them to keep pushing with all their might, all the weight and burden that they carried. They had physical repercussions afterwards. And Jonathan, you thought of maybe perhaps sending a letter to Sunnyvale. But I think also the concern is Sunnyvale's a much bigger city with more money. And you can't stand up to Sunnyvale. So instead, you've turned to the homeless camp that has nowhere to go and said, well, you have nowhere to go, but it can't be here. I want to thank the VIP Executive Director of...
Thank you, Ms. Raposa. Okay, that's all. So we will close.
Madam Mayor,
Oh, yes.
may I just make a
Yes.
clarifying
Yes,
statement?
you may. Yes.
I simply want to make a record that my comments with respect to Sunnyvale were not meant in any way to pit one city against the other. It was to highlight that the solution to the problem of homelessness has to be regional. It cannot be tackled in any meaningful way by one jurisdiction. But I never intended to fight Sunnyvale. I never said that Sunnyvale is too powerful. What I am calling for is a regional, collective, collaborative effort to attack the problem.
Thank you, Councilmember. All right. So, moving on from public comments not on the agenda, we have a consent calendar with 3 items. Do my colleagues have any questions or discussion around the consent calendar? Yes, go ahead, Councilman.
Thank you, Mayor. Can I just ask a clarifying question on item number 2? I don't want to pull the item if I don't have to.
Yes, go right ahead.
Question for staff. Were any efforts made, and if they were, what were they, to identify a dump truck that is powered by an electric motor?
That's item 3, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
excuse me, you're
Yes,
right, that is item 3.
item
My
3.
apologies.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilmember Weinberg. Yes, Manny Hernandez, Community Services Director. And just wanted to say, the first thing we do is we look at our colleagues' usage of that truck or that size truck to see if they're doing anything innovative or have any options if they've seen them before. But for that size truck, we didn't see anything out in the market. So we talked to other agencies, and no one is using for those uses of a dump truck, which would be equivalent to an F-450. No one had any trucks of that size. We later found out, someone brought to our attention that there is a version of a dump truck, but we looked at the specs after the fact, and it doesn't meet the needs that we need for the 450 replacement.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right. If there are no further questions or comments by council members, we will open it up for public comment on all 3 of the consent items. Any comments? No. Okay. So then can I have a motion bringing it back to council?
I'll move that we accept the consent calendar.
Second?
Councilmember Daly,
Yes.
Councilmember Weinberg,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lang,
Yes.
Mayor Meadows.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. We have one discussion item this evening. Let me orient us, all of us, and the audience as well, to that item. So we are, this is our annual nonprofit and civic organizations applications for some level of funding. And what we're going to do is go through each application one at a time, and we can each weigh in. And so we'll do that 6 times over for each of the 6 applications we got. I do want to say that all of these are worthwhile causes. There's no doubt about that. But that is not necessarily the basis on which we make our decision. And you will hear in the discussion what we're basing the decision on. So if we do grant money, great. If we don't assume that means we don't value the work you do. We do, but we have to consider the relevancy and the appropriateness of any grants we make of public money for the organizations. So with that, we'll go in the order that they were in the packet. So the first is Arts Los Altos, and Mr. Carneseca, are you judging by your readiness stance there? You're the one, or are you not?
I am the one to answer questions.
To
I do
answer
not have any
questions.
presentation for council tonight. I think you outlined the process appropriately. I'm just happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. So do we want to have each applicant give us, we're going to, because I think we want to hear from you. Each applicant will get 3 minutes to describe your ask of council. And then council may have questions of you. And if not, we'll go straight to discussion. So first is Arts Los Altos. If you want to come up, you'll have 3 minutes to tell us what you're asking. We have read the application. You can say it stands on its own merits. That's fine too. But I'm offering you time at the microphone. No, one application, 3 minutes.
Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
we have a number of speaker cards for representatives of each. I didn't know if you wanted to.
Okay. So, all right. So are each of the speaker cards just from representatives, or do we not necessarily
I would have to do
know?
a roll call real quick, because
Right,
I know
right.
I know some of you, but I don't know everybody. The first 2, this one is. Although we're going through our list.
All right, we're working it as we go through.
Amy Gibson, are you with?
I'm with Cassie, but I'm here also to speak on behalf of LAFBCF's application.
Okay, so you're a public speaker
Making a
and you're also an applicant speaker. So, oh, you'll be the applicant. Okay.
So it does look like we have, our speaker cards are for applicants, but they may also be speaking as public comment.
On other than their own applications.
Correct. I just,
Right.
I won't know
I
until they-
would like it, I would like to keep it to 3 minutes per application, not 3 minutes per each speaker from the organization, because, I mean, you could have a whole herd of people in. So, if you're not ready, Arts Los Altos, we can move on to the next one.
Okay. We're co-directors, so we can co.
There you go.
Okay, after Maddie met the property manager of EHH Housing at the groundbreaking ceremony, EAH Housing reached out to Arts Los Altos to suggest public art for their building. Arts Los Altos introduced artist Charlie Gadigan and his sculpture Totemic, and the EAH Housing has approved it. We are very excited to expand our scope outside the downtown area and provide Totemic an interactive public art piece for this building.
Unlike traditional artwork, this simply observed interactive public art invites residents to engage directly through touch, participation, and synergy. It can provide social and emotional and cultural benefits to extend beyond aesthetics. Totemic will encourage residents to gather, participate, and connect with one another in this all-affordable housing community, and I'm so glad to hear that that's this month's priority. Neighbors can come from different backgrounds, languages, and generations. Public art can bring shared experience that fosters trust and belonging. For this all-affordable development, public art can improve the quality and perception of this public space. Playable sculptures and participatory features can transform this seating area into a vibrant place where people want to spend time. This can reduce feelings of isolation and help make the community feel safer, more welcoming, and more human-centered. Ultimately, interactive public art like Totemic will help this all-affordable housing community become more than just a place to live. It will create opportunities for connection, expression, and pride, turning this space into a meaningful, shared environment. We would like to fully encourage you to approve this nonprofit grant for Arts Los Altos and support the creative artist and his team. Their beautiful and thoughtful interactive public art sculpture, Totemic, gracing the front of the first 100% affordable housing complex in Los Altos. Did we do it? Is that enough?
Well, yeah, you did it in, stay up. Yes, so please stay up. So first we'll see whether we have questions for you. Then we might have questions for staff. And then we'll take public comments if there's any non-applicants who want to make a public comment on your submission. Okay, so, all right, so Vice Mayor.
Could you describe a little bit more about how the interaction works? So, you know, that to me is an appealing part about it, that people would play with it and stuff and not just, you know.
Sure. Okay, so there are the 3 towers, and then there are these 2 smaller blocks, and they have imprints on them of hands. And if you sit and put your hands on the imprints, the lights in the towers go at your heartbeat, which is so cool. And the lights, you know, they're the orange and the green, which is reflective of Los Altos, you know, the apricots and the trees. So that's how it's interactive. And then the lights shine through the glass.
I've worked with enough electronic things to know that sometimes it breaks. Do you have any thought about ongoing maintenance for the piece?
Yes, so good question. So this has been a question with the housing development as well. And so they're providing all the infrastructure and they're taking full responsibility for all the maintenance. They're creating a maintenance contract with the Bop Shop, who are the people manufacturing and creating the piece.
Are you already in contract with Charles Yadkin and the Box Shop team?
Do you want to answer?
Yes.
Okay, so the contract is already signed, it's a done deal.
Yes.
Are there any contingencies in the contract?
No.
Not so far.
All right, so this piece is being installed regardless of whether the council contributes any money, because you're in contract to do it, is that right?
This piece is going to be installed, yes.
Okay. In the past, I think, not last year, but a couple of years ago, the council awarded you $10,000. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And that was to be used for maintenance of existing art, or was there another project that was used for? How was that 10,000 used?
Do you want to answer?
Yeah, that project was for a mural on Redberry Coffee called Nuestros Senderos.
It was specifically for the art.
Okay. I was surprised to see this application because my understanding was that Arts Los Altos' mission was focused on art in the downtown triangle. So has that recently changed, or is this just one exception? What?
So I can answer that a little bit. So Julie Mahowald, who works with EAH, she's our finance person, asked me if I would go to the groundbreaking ceremony. She'd really like to see some public art there and talk to Brandon, and so I did it. I think I saw some of you there. And I connected with him to implement the art because for us, that's our thing, is private property with private funding. And so I thought, wow, this is so cool that it's an all affordable housing unit. It's what do you call it? A big structure, commercial property. And so we thought, wow, this would be good for Arts Los Altos to have something like this under our belt. And so I got our team on it and got our call for art out there, and we just went for it.
So this is a one-off then from the downtown.
Yeah.
So you're not planning on going out further out.
Maybe, we don't know. I know Pete asked us about doing a mural at Loyola Corners, and I'm still trying to figure out who that property owner is. And I recently talked to somebody who's helping me work on that too. So, and also they asked us to help with the library project within the library, but we said, you got to work with the Park Commission. So anyway, we get a lot of people.
Was there any thought of consulting with the Park Commission on this project?
We had to work really quickly, and we wanted to get in on the ground up so that we could get this infrastructure for the electrical and all of that done within the building process rather than come in later, dig up the concrete, have to put it all in after. So we did not go with the Park Commission because it needed to get done really fast.
Okay, I understand. Thank you very much for answering my questions. I appreciate that.
So thank you guys for everything that you have done and continue to do. Since this is an electromechanical installation and probably involved electrical work and preparation for the installation as part of the building process, I just want to check with city staff to make sure that that stuff was done in accordance with code and permits and so on.
We have not received a building permit for this project yet.
Okay, is that a cause for concern, or is everything going to be fine?
At this point in time, when we met in February, we provided the lighting performance standards to Arts Los Altos. Arts Los Altos indicated that they reviewed them and passed them along to the artist for compliance, but the city has not reviewed the application in its full entirety because it has not been submitted yet.
Okay, that's the only question I have.
Okay. So one of the things we were trying to get with the last, let me see, current estimated cost, we were trying to foster collaboration between Arts Los Altos and the commission, and there was about 59,000 allocated to a project to collaborate on. But that's, I guess that has started the process, but is not what we're here talking about today. So you're talking about this in isolation of the commission.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a community art project. That's a Mosaic community art project.
Okay. And city staff, can we spend money on art on private property?
Why not?
Because it's public funds?
Other cities do, but
You could, but that's not how we usually do it. We usually have the developer do it as a condition of approval. And if you are going to spend money for art on private property, you would need to adopt a resolution, make findings that there is some sort of community benefit, so it would not be seen as a gift of public money. It could be done.
And so let me come back to you, Mr. Carnesecca. So we cannot say with assurance yet that this would comply. So even if the city doesn't pay for it, we don't yet know whether the installation would comply with lighting standards.
The Development Services Department would need to review it and obviously provide guidance if there were any modifications that would be required to make sure it's compliant with the lighting performance standards and any other conditions that could exist in the building code or the planning division approvals.
Okay.
And to clarify, because I know there was a question about the public art funds. So city general funds could also be used, but you would need findings. But public art funds are usually spent for public art projects. But there could be, you could use general fund monies, but you would still need to make a public benefit findings.
Right. Okay, thank you, City Attorney. Unless my colleagues have further questions, I'll check with the city clerk whether we have public comment on this item from people who are not the applicants.
Can I just make one comment?
Go ahead.
The lighting issue, EAH Housing has all that information, and it's low voltage lighting. It doesn't shine up; it shines through the glass. So
Well, again, that's just something that they would have to look
yeah, the
to. It would
limits-
go through the development services, so.
I'm sure they're safe.
Okay, so Melissa, did you?
So I do have speaker cards for item 4.
Oh,
However,
right.
they're
Okay,
they're
yes, it's,
for applicants
Okay.
of other organizations, but I can call
Yeah.
out names to see if
yes, I'll come to you in a minute.
somebody would like to speak.
All right,
on
let me
it.
just check. Is there anyone from the public who wants to speak on this item? I'm not seeing that that's the case, so it's probably applicants, but we'll do it. Okay, so Councilmember Daley.
I'm sorry, I probably should know this already, but who has title to that parcel? I thought it was county property.
County, I think.
Seems like that's public. It's just not Los Altos public.
Yep.
Can I get the city attorney to comment on whether county-owned property qualifies as public property under the
I'm not
wording of
sure
our
how
public
that.
art ordinance?
I'm not sure how that project is developed. Is it the county purchased it? I believe, but I'm not certain.
So my question is, if the county owns it, doesn't that make it public property?
So
Yes,
sorry to interrupt, but in the provision for the public art funds, is that what you're referring to?
Well, that would be one of the questions that follows from this. Yes.
The public art funds in Municipal Code Section 3.52020 is allowing spending of funds for art programs on city-owned public property throughout the city.
City-owned,
It's
okay.
clearly
yeah.
defined for
Right.
public art.
Okay.
I wanted to make
I
sure
forgot
that was
about
understood.
City-owned qualifier to public property. Okay. But as it pertains to general fund expenditure on this parcel, it's not private property though. So do the findings and the resolution that we would have to make still need to meet that threshold, or where are we with that stuff if it's public property? I know, but I just want clarification.
I'm not certain. I mean, this is county-owned property. It's not city-owned. So if you're going to be using the public art funds through that municipal code chapter,
It doesn't sound like we can, given that wording of
Yeah,
city-owned
city-owned,
is
yes.
in that ordinance. But with regard to spending general fund
general
revenue,
funds would be something different. No one asked me about general
Right,
funds
but I'm
this
asking now.
afternoon. Yeah, I know. you are.
and under my understanding, in order to do this, to spend general funds on something for this, to spend general funds on something for private property, we would have to actually pass a resolution and have findings to support a public value for that.
Yeah, a community public benefit. Yeah.
Do we still need to have the same findings and do a resolution if it's not private property, but indeed public property, albeit just not owned by this agency?
I would say yes, because how we're using them under 3.52, that is using public art funds for city-owned property. So if we're going to be spending city funds on non-city property,
No,
we should make findings.
I
Yes.
think the question he's getting at, let me
Please
Yeah.
go ahead.
right, is nothing to do with the public art fund. It had to
It's
do-
it's just general funds, taking
right.
it out of not art funds bucket and just using
Understood,
general
understood.
fund.
But I think the point of the question was there was concern about a gift of public funds issue.
Yes.
Right? And I believe, if I'm following your question, the point was general fund, just add a general fund. Clearly, if we buy artwork for somebody's mansion, that's a gift of public funds, and that's not going to float. But if this is going on property that is owned by the county, that seems like it's not a gift of public funds to a private entity.
So I'm going to, go ahead, answer that, and then I'm going to.
It's still going to be using city public monies for non-city purposes, so I would recommend making some sort of findings
you. Yeah.
that there would be a community overall benefit.
So as a reminder, and this may not be a perfect analogy, but I'll run it by you, City Attorney and Mr. Carnesecca, when we were looking at some of the sculptures that the commission was placing, we had to be very careful to not place them in the medians of Foothill and on the easements of Foothill. We had to put it on city property. So is that part of, because of what you're saying now, I mean, we can't spend public funds, regardless of which bucket they come from, to go on someone else's property, whether it's public or private?
I believe that was because it was public art funds that were going for those specific sculptures. So
okay.
those sculptures using the public art funds, per the provision that I mentioned earlier, required it to be on the city-owned public property.
All right, I think we've
And since we're
hammering
beating this dead horse,
Yes,
if you can
yes.
say that anymore today or these days, the county would have to accept this.
Yes.
And accept that it's going to be maintained. I mean,
Yeah.
so it's,
There's a contract with the artist and the builders.
Well, you don't, so the point is now that you don't have to convince us, you have to convince the county. We're not the owners, well, so. Yes, I think we're done with questions, and we have determined that there are no public speakers on this item. And so, thank you. I think you can be seated, and we'll begin our deliberation. And which of my colleagues would like to go first? Go ahead, Councilmember Daley.
So I actually have a few things to say, and it's not pertaining to this particular installation or grant request, but it's to this. It's comments about this process, and I hope that my colleagues will consider these comments for next year. My strong suggestion is that we dramatically change how this process goes. It is my belief that we should establish a budget for giving, be it $100,000 or $150,000 or $1 million or whatever it ends up being. It's in our budget. It's a number that staff then uses, and staff would bring in applications for these grants, would score them by some rubric, and then would submit to council probably on consent just for approval. Because what we have here is a process that can lead to a who you know kind of situation.
Is this a
for-
future agenda item? Is that,
I
I'm
was-
sorry, I
was-
just want to,
I was
because
going to
this is
say,
not on the
it-
agenda.
it's relating to the process
Yes.
of the public,
Right.
of this, this is for grants, and now
We're here today
for the grants.
under the current process. So,
Yes, so-
council
but
member,
if it-
can you
if-
bring that forward?
As a future
If-
agenda
Because
item?
I think a discussion would potentially be good, but now is not the time for that discussion.
Okay, that's fine. Then I have no other comments. Thank you.
Do you support the grant?
I would like to hear my colleagues, and I'm not prepared to cast a vote yet. When the question is called, I will vote one way or the other.
Okay. Staff, do you have something you want to let us know?
No, we're just
Okay.
talking about the
All
process.
right. Colleagues, Vice Mayor.
So, first of all, thank you to our friends from Arts Los Altos. Little did you realize you need to get a law degree to pursue this interest, and we appreciate you bearing with us as we go through this. You've taken on a tricky business with figuring out art in public places. So just thank you for your patience in dealing with all of that. I'd say I'm supportive in principle. I think that I very much come to that conclusion because it is affordable housing. It is our first all affordable housing. I think that the community symbolism of saying this is not some side thing, that these folks are a part of our community. We welcome them. We want them to have a nice place as well is perfectly appropriate and good. So I'm supportive of it in principle. The problem I have is I don't think we can do the grant without learning more. We don't know for sure who owns it. There's the whole question about we can't be even. I'm not going to rehash it. You heard all the stuff that we ref was. So I'd be uncomfortable voting yes for it right now without some further investigation of that, because perhaps it's still counting, in which case that's one set of legal rituals. Perhaps title transferred to some private entity, in which case it's a different set of legal. So I just don't feel like it's ripe for us to approve something without knowing that. But I wouldn't want that belief on my part to be mistaken for not being supportive of it. I like the concept. I think that we don't have a legal foundation to approve it tonight, but I'd be willing to revisit it later when we have more information. That's my thought.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Weinberg.
Thank you, Mayor. I actually am not concerned about that at all. I think that if 3 or 4 council members want to approve this grant or any other grant for that matter, essentially that is direction to staff that this is what we want to do, and then staff, if a resolution is necessary or a contract has to be approved, then they bring it back. It can be on consent. It cannot be on consent. And if the conclusion of the city attorney is can't do this, then we revisit the decision, or we just treat the decision as direction. So that actually doesn't concern me at all. I think that the project is really cool, but that really doesn't matter. I mean, I've had art projects come before me before, and generally, with the exception of the hearts, and then there's a reason for that. But art is very subjective, and what some people like, other people don't like. Sometimes art is not supposed to be attractive. Sometimes it's supposed to be provocative. This is art that's supposed to have a physiological effect. That can be. Some people could have a problem with that. Some people think it's great. I think that it's cool, but my thinking that it's cool is not figuring into my deliberations at all. Ultimately, I do think that regardless of the legality of it in terms of who owns the property, I do think this is a request for public money for a private benefit, and I have a real problem with that. I also note that this installation is going to happen regardless of whether or not the council approves the grant. So since this is a done deal, since the project doesn't need the council's money, I don't feel a compelling need for the council to donate the to this project, especially at the amount that's requested. But even if it were a smaller request, I still wouldn't support it because again, this is happening. So whether the council decides to donate money or not really doesn't matter. Simply put, the city's money is not needed for this project. I was surprised to hear that the permits had not been pulled yet. I assume that they had. I'm going to assume that you will be able to get the permits, but if my colleagues vote yes for this, I would request that there be a stipulation, a condition that the permits have to be obtained and that this is actually happening. Finally, and this goes back to the fact that this is already happening, but I don't like the idea of a nonprofit coming here asking for money to essentially just conduit directly to a private person. That would be Charles Gattican at the Box Shop. He's the artist. I'm not saying that he's not entitled to be paid for his work, but you're not asking us for something to fulfill your mission, which I still understand to be art in downtown. You're asking us for money that you can then give to a private party that you have already committed to giving to that private party. So for those reasons, I'm going to decline the request.
You want me to go, or I can go? It's either fine, whatever you prefer.
One or two more things.
Yeah. So do you want to say
Sure,
them?
I'll add
Yeah.
a couple
Okay.
of things. I wasn't sure how I wanted to talk about this, but I was pretty instrumental in cutting about $10 million of costs out of this project in return for getting another $10 million of funding from the county. And that's how we closed the $20 million funding gap. And in that $10 million that we cut out of the project, there were a number of things that got taken out that upset some of the residents in the neighborhood, like a parking elevator and parking places. And I still feel like that was the right move because a roof over people's heads is more important than a place for them to park or for their neighbors to park. But to find those cuts and then come back when the project is finished and say, oh, but now we're going to give X dollars from our general fund for this wonderful art installation. My fear is that somebody could legitimately say, you should have put that money into the building of the project to begin with. So I'm a little bit reticent in that regard.
Thank you, Councilmember. And that's a good point because it's in the packet, but I don't know that any of us voiced it this evening, but we actually waived all fees, including the art fees. So this would be putting money back into fees that so double dipping, paying, first waiving the fees and then do it. But so all my colleagues have excellent points. There's no doubt this is a stunning piece of art. But you've come before us, you know us all personally. You've come before us every year for 3 or however many years we've been doing this, 5 years. And we have to make process-oriented and very particular decisions. And you I guess spoke with staff in February, and that's the only, far as I can understand, the only interaction with us, and instead you come with a done deal. I just, especially in a complex situation like this, again, we can work it out, whatever, whether it's county or, who owns the right to place art, but you know where to find us, you know how to work with us. You just spring a done deal on us, and it just doesn't, I don't understand why, because, we could work this out. You said you were in a hurry, but there were several months in between February and, so I just really disappointed because I don't think you've given us the framework to be able to say, yeah, all that's okay, we'll give you the money anyway. I just can't support it, and I don't, you know, I know sometimes you've been here and been disappointed, and sometimes, you know, we've been urging the collaboration with this commission, which is, you know, maybe time consuming and all the rest of it, but I just feel like this has put us in an awkward situation, and I just, unfortunately, I can't support it in the current framework. Maybe it can be reworked, I don't know, and some of these questions we've identified, but I can't support it either. So I don't know if we want to call the question, because we haven't really voted. We've expressed opinions, but we've sort of had 2 votes. Vice Mayor, did you have some additional thoughts? I can see them churning.
I can count to pretty low numbers in my head.
I think we should vote, yeah.
Well, I'll make a motion then.
Yes, okay.
Just- Let's see what happens. I move that we approve this grant request.
Second.
City Clerk?
Councilmember Daley.
I vote to approve.
Councilmember Weinberg.
No.
Vice Mayor Lang.
Yes?
Mayor Meadows.
No.
That's a tie, so motion fails. Due to a tie.
Okay. So feel free to take the feedback and work with us so we can have a better framework to evaluate it. That's the direction I would give. I don't know if any of my colleagues would say something different than that. Okay. All right, thank you very much. So we'll move on to Cassie. So 3 minutes to tell us about your proposal.
Good evening, Mayor Meadows, council members, and staff. My name is Mary Gloner. I'm the Interim Executive Director of CASI, Counseling and Support Services for Youth. We're a 17-year-old agency that partners with schools in Santa Clara and San Mateo counties to destigmatize mental health challenges, normalize students' social and emotional well-being, and provide tailored and accessible school-based therapy. Through CASI's partnership with Mountain View Los Altos High School District, we serve Los Altos students at Los Altos, Mountain View, and Alta Vista High Schools. We also serve Los Altos TK through 8 students at St. Nicholas Catholic School in Los Altos Hills by partnering with the Diocese of San Jose. We are hopeful that the City Council will approve CASI's request for $10,000 to support its infrastructure for comprehensive on-campus mental health support. We provide individual counseling, proactive social-emotional education, parent and staff support, crisis, prevention, intervention, and postvention. During the last school year, CASI provided 733 individual and check-in sessions to 128 students in Los Altos High School alone. That's about 78, with a $10,000 investment, that's about $78 per student, and even less when you count in the other schools. Part of the 1,900 individual group and check-in sessions, we also provide 240 students district-wide. The CASI collaborates very closely with the district staff to support early intervention and seamlessly integrate mental wellness into the fabric of each school community, normalizing it. We rely on cross-sectional collaboration and is supported by various local government entities in the communities we serve. For Los Altos, this includes District 5, Santa Clara County, the City of Mountain View, and the Town of Los Altos Hills. In Santa Clara County, the cities of Palo Alto, Campbell, and the towns of Los Gatos also support CASI. So in closing, May is also Mental Health Matters and Awareness Month. We thank the city's long-standing commitment to youth mental health and suicide prevention. And as a first-time applicant, CASI would be honored to partner with the city of Los Altos to ensure that the mental well-being of its students. Along with CASI's development manager, Amy Gibson, we welcome your questions.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, do my colleagues have questions? Go ahead, Councilmember Weinberg.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to start with a disclosure. I have 2 children, both of whom attend Los Altos High. I did discuss this with the city manager, or with the city attorney, and I've been advised that I don't need to recuse, but I did want to make that disclosure because presumably my kids are eligible to receive CASI services. Thank you very much for being at the high school. I was a little confused by your comments when you're talking about the cities that you're partnering with. I believe you mentioned Mountain View and Los Altos Hills. Have those cities, are those cities donating?
Yeah, they're investing in our program because to provide these services, there's a specific cost, but it averages about, in our partnerships with and contracts with the schools, they only cover about 80%. And so the other
Okay,
schools,
so when you say they're investing, what does that mean?
if you call it donating, we apply for grants. Some are more formalized, like the city of Palo Alto. We are in actually 30 campuses throughout Santa Clara and San Mateo County.
Okay.
Yeah.
So forgive me, I'm going to try to stay on point.
Yes.
How much has the city of Los Altos Hills donated, and how much has the city of Mountain View donated?
So,
Would you like me to approach or just answer?
That way the microphone.
Yeah.
Thank you, members of the council. Currently, the city of Mountain View, we applied for a grant through a competitive process, and we received $16,000 and $16,032 for this fiscal year and next fiscal year. We've received just shy of $25,000 from the city of Palo Alto through a similar formalized process like the one that you were discussing, Councilmember Daley. And the city of Los Altos Hills is a past grantee. We've received $10,000 from the city of Los Altos Hills. We will be asking again after when their budget process happens. Shortly.
And are you serving those cities in any way other than through the high schools? Or
and elementary.
Through the TK through 8 students at St. Nicholas. That's a Catholic school, but it's located within the town of Los Altos Hills. But Los Altos students attend Mountain View High School, Los Altos High School, and also Alta Vista High School. And we have Los Altos residents that attend St. Nicholas as well.
all right. So other than through the schools, Los Altos Hills and Mountain View are not receiving services from Cassie.
Correct. We do
All right.
not have, we are a school-based provider
Got
of
it.
mental health services.
And you said that the fees that you earn only cover about 80%?
Correct.
Okay, so in your impact report, I haven't done the math yet, but in your impact report, you disclose that you're getting about $3 million from schools and then another $600,000 or so through donations. So it sounds like you've actually already closed that gap, right?
Any impact report is from a prior year. So every year, we're working again to close that gap.
Got it. But last year you closed the gap. That's what the impact report shows.
Some of these funds are restricted to specific communities. So it may take $3.8 million or $3.4 million to provide services. In some communities, we are in more schools than others, and we are providing more services beyond. What we're asking is just to fill the gap of how much it would cost for us to serve the Los Altos students.
Well, how does that work to restrict the gift just to one area?
Well, many of our contracts is with the school districts themselves, so we are obligated to serve their students. However, it's pays for primarily the counseling, the one-on-one sessions. As you all know, there's important backbone support. You have your supervisor, you have the collecting the data to make sure the progress reports. You also have to make sure that the counselors are getting their continuing education and so forth. So none of the schools don't pay for that. The licensing and so forth that we do as a school-based mental health, behavioral health organization. What the schools pay for is that one-on-one time and providing any support that they need, especially when there is a crisis. Some of the schools have several behavioral health organizations, but Cassie is the go-to because we are seen as not Cassie by the student population and the parent population, but as a staff and extension of the school system.
Okay, did I hear you say that the money that the school district pays can't be used for licensure, overhead? It can only be used for actually providing services?
Many of our school districts they fund for the FTE that is based on their school. So it would be for the hours that counselor is there on site.
But the licensure and your overhead is built into those hours, right? I mean, that's,
It's really based on their salary and the fee structure of their wages. So there might be some the benefits, but you do need supervision. You do need a clinical program manager who works with the districts and the systems.
no, I get that there's a lot, it's not just
There's no indirect
the
rate.
counselor who's working with the student, I
Yeah.
get that. But it sounds like what you're saying is that all the schools are paying for is that, but I don't see how like I'm an attorney
Yeah.
and clients pay me per hour, but in the fees that they pay me, my, salaries to people who work for me and my rent and my insurance, my licensure, I mean, that's all built into that. They're not going to see a breakdown for each dollar that they pay, but it's all built into that. And I would have assumed that your contracts with the school district is the same, but it sounds like you're saying it's not. You can't use any of the money from the school districts for anything else.
Yeah, for transparency, we provide them with 3 levels of costing. We say this is how much it would cost for 100%. The backbone, the administrative time, rent, as you know, the indirect. This is the cost fees for supervision, counts, the management and the liaison work that you have with the senior level, working with the district wellness coordinator or even the superintendent's office. And then we provide the financial structure or the cost of the counseling hours specifically. How that came to be is because that's how the school contractors or school districts have asked us. And that's been
Okay.
the costing model since in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. Is there a reason that you, in your application, you only talked about Los Altos High School? Why didn't you also talk about Mountain View High and
Yes.
Yeah.
St.
To be honest, we were a first-time applicant, and we thought we would be conservative in our request. We could have just as easily talked about all 3 all 3 schools in the district. And I think in the cover letter, we mentioned some of the stats that we had for all of our work district-wide.
Okay,
So we're
but
happy to do that.
I mean, are you aware that Los Altos High also serves students from Los Altos Hills and from Mountain View?
Yes.
And that Mountain View High also has a large population of Los Altos residents?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Um,
We thought simply for clarity and an ask at the first, first time.
All right. So you are, based on your impact report, you're a $3.5 million organization, $3 million of which has been paid for by school districts. So with tax money, the same tax money that funds the cities. What would $10,000 from the city of Los Altos possibly do for you?
May I correct you, because we also have in our portfolio schools, private schools, so that does not include tax money in the contracts, if you're looking at that. And then we also have charter schools and private schools. But if you're saying
All right.
the
How
public
much does
schools in the
MVLA
city-
pay you? How much are they paying you this year?
So it's almost, it's 700K.
Okay,
yeah.
so you're already getting $700K from the same pot of money that the city gets its money. What is another $10,000 out of that same pot going to do for Cassie?
It will help leverage the other funding from other government and individual donors to support the costs for the infrastructure, the supervision, the time for the supervisors. As you can tell, it's not 10,000 won't go long.
So you want, so the 10,000, the purpose of the ask of
To leverage.
$10,000 is so you can go to others and say, hey, the city of Los Altos is kicking in, we'd like you to do so too.
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you, Mayor, thank you for answering my questions.
But most importantly, many of the cities are already on board. I think it'd be the opposite, is that we are serving your students, and it would be a powerful statement to say the city of Los Altos is also part of the public safety net to ensure the health and well-being of our students.
Vice Mayor?
What relationship, if any, do you have with Pacific Clinics?
So Pacific Clinics, many of the school districts contract with them for more of the higher tier students that might have psychosis diagnosis. We're pretty much, and I'm a health educator at heart, and where I believe the strength of Cassie is that prevention, the early intervention, where it normalizes. It doesn't wait for someone with a suicide ideation or dealing. So we work with the students to kind of mitigate their anxiety, their depression. We work very closely with the faculty. Where we differ from Pacific Clinics, many of them are based on billing, right? They're Medi-Cal, Medicare, there's a limit. We do have an evidence-based curriculum, but we don't discharge them. Many of ours, it's really based on developing a comprehensive plan and starting where that student is. We always center with the student. However, we engage parents and faculty as needed to make sure their well-being. So we don't pretty much we serve on behalf of the school district. They tell us who to serve, and we pretty much do the tier 1, tier 2, which is the prevention or group session. But for most part, anecdotally, when there has been a crisis, while there are the mobile trust vans and so forth, Cassie has been always called to help kind of navigate and work with the staff and just dealing with the challenges. We tend to be the go-to because of the established relationship, the trust, and so forth.
Would it be fair to say that you have pretty frequent collaborative conversations with them?
Yes. So when there is, I believe in, we could follow up with this too, but when there is a specific student that needs more high touch, one of the important individuals that help navigate it is, of course, the staff on site, right? Whoever is the student service wellness coordinator or the mental health, so social emotional learning. We are seen as important advisors and guidance. But for the most part, not to throw any shade to Pacific Clinics, when you're dealing in the middle of a crisis, they know that Cassie will be responsive, so they tend to default to us, and then bring in Pacific Clinics when it's necessary.
I'll go ahead and make a comment, and then you can think about whether you have a question. Or I'm going to make a question. Ask a question. Sorry, I'll get there eventually. So I was on the CHAC board in the last year and a half of CHAC's existence, and so the basis for CHAC was the cities and the schools in the JPA. And also the board was composed not just of the JPA entities, but also the community. It was a very different kind of board than others. So when CHAC went away, which has been about 2 years ago, that's when Cassie contracted with MVLA, is that correct?
Yeah, MVLA had a very open call for proposals.
Mm-hmm.
We came in not expecting, but we tried because we knew we had a really good model. And my predecessor, Marika
Yes.
Sayok, was, I give a lot of credit to her. And of course, the first year is a test, but the sign of that this is going forward really well is, one, MVLA decided to participate or take advantage of the Children's and Youth Behavioral Health Initiative statewide that was really encouraging school sites to start bill for mental health services. And based on our mission, our values and culture, we were like, how do we support whatever the school district wants to normalize and mental health? So based on our track record for the past year, the district is going to continue with us and has not had any, and you have good relationships, I'm sure, and you could contact those, but are re-engaging us. They have not decreased the contract. So it's school districts like MVLA who are leading the way to normalize the whole child approach. Fortunate this community has high capacity.
Right.
I previously worked with Project Safety Net.
So
in Palo
let me
Alto.
get back to
Yeah.
the question then. You're giving us a little bit more detail than
Yeah.
probably we need. That's okay.
It's the
Your
passion.
enthusiasm shines through. So my understanding, again, having been on the board at that time, that Pacific Clinics bid for the job or providing services in school to MVLA, but they had a more expensive bid because they included that very overhead that you're mentioning that you don't include. So, and so you got, so you, that experience, were you aware at the time that you were in essence not billing? You were signing a contract that didn't cover all your true costs. You just covered the, as you say, the hands-on touch points. So was that something you were cognizant of when you entered into the first year's contract?
I believe so. I mean, that Cassie really prides on being a small base, community-based organization. And so we are highly marketable compared to our bigger sisters and big brothers who've been in the field, like Momentum and so forth. But we do one thing only and one thing well. And I can respect the other ones because they might do a broader mission. We go into the school, provide counseling. We don't do psychosis or other things.
I understood. So I guess the question really is, you knew that you were not going to get your full costs because you were basing your contract on the touch points. Correct. Okay. All right.
I think just to frame it differently,
Yes,
from
thank
Cassie's
you.
inception,
Uh-huh.
there's always been this joint
Yes.
model. Collaboration has been integral to Cassie, to our way of doing business from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
There's always been a fundraising gap. So we work with schools to say, what can you afford? And then we work to go get the rest of it so that kids get the support they need.
That
It
was
not
yes.
a conscious
Right.
decision to
No,
underbid anyone.
Right. And I can totally understand that, and that is exactly what CHAC's model was, which is, and it lasted 52 years, but then it just couldn't do that anymore because eventually that gap becomes all consuming. But anyway, thank you for clarifying. Councilmember, did you have any questions before I check for public comment?
No questions, but I have to make the same disclosure that Councilmember Weinberg made. I have a 17-year-old at Mountain View High School who has availed themselves of these services.
Okay, do we have speaker cards for members of the public who want to speak on this? And just raise your hand if that's the case. I think probably most of our speaker cards are going to be the applicants, right? So no public speakers? All right. Thank you very much. We appreciate you being here tonight and value your work. It's important.
Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. So now we'll bring the deliberation back to colleagues. Who would like to start? Well, actually, why don't I'll give you a little bit of context on the CHAC stuff. So it was an interesting, when I joined CHAC, we underwent at least a year's process of strategic planning and looking at all the scenarios and how could we maintain that highly valued and revered service to the community. And the bottom line was we couldn't. But what I want to mention during the discussions is CHAC was born in the early 70s, I think. I think it was 72, something like that. Early 70s. It was the first iteration of the drug wars. When you look back, they're a lot worse now than they were then. But anyway, so this was formed, the cities, the schools, and the community got together to help our youth through the perils of that time. What began to become clear as we looked at different iterations that CHAC maybe could survive in is that the city JPA partners did not view themselves as really belonging in that space anymore. The county provides health services and mental health services, but the cities don't really. We were obligated through the JPA at that point to continue that, but as we looked at different models to make the organization sustainable. In almost all cases, the cities were not going to continue because it really is not, it wasn't felt was directly in our remit. You're right, the students live in our cities, but, you know, so the school districts were the ones who the JPA and the board as a whole looked to say, what are you going to do about these services? Because it seemed like the cities were, you know, kind of peripheral because it's services that the schools provide. So I just think that's an important perspective to share. I think there was a lot of value in the inception, and there was a lot of, you know, it's an organization viewed lovingly in the community, but you know, if you flipped it, this may be a little flip to describe this, but we don't see the schools looking at how they can invest in our bicycle lanes to enable the kids to get safely to school. So, so anyway, I just wanted to give that context because I had because I had a front row seat in that strategic process, which was led very ably by a number of well-versed people. But so for that, that's not my weighing in, but I wanted to give that context and let you all now deliberate.
Mayor, thank you for that context. That's helpful. I'm going to be voting no unless I hear an argument persuasive from my colleagues otherwise, for a number of reasons. And I'll start my analysis with Cassie's a $3.5 million organization. I don't see how $10,000 from Los Altos is really going to affect or help our community or frankly Cassie. But I could get past that because of the important work that's done and the clear benefit that it does provide our residents. But there are two things that really concern me. The one that I find moderately concerning is we get our same money, we get money from the same pool that the school districts do, come from property taxes. School districts actually get a lot more than we do. And the school districts have worked with you to identify a contract that's fair for our community, for the community that contributed funds to the school district to be able to purchase the services that they want from you. It's difficult for me to justify asking those same property taxpayers to give more on top of that. There was a contract with our property taxpayers. Presumably that contract is being honored by the school district. So I don't feel compelled to add to that, despite the fact that there's no question the organization does a phenomenal job providing a critical service. What I find most troubling, though, is the application itself. When I was asking you questions, and I apologize that the lawyer in me probably came out, I didn't mean to be aggressive, but essentially you said the money would be used as seed money to be able to raise funds from a broader spectrum of the public. That's what I heard when you're shaking your head, but I clarified that, and there was a nod.
You said leverage. I said leverage.
No, that's all right.
Okay.
That's all right. Yeah.
So, but what the application actually says is that this expense specifically, this $10,000 is for clinical program infrastructure for school-based mental health services at Los Altos High School. What was set up here is clearly not the same as what's in black and white on the application. But even if I could get past that, what you put in the application specifically targets only a portion of our high school population. There's Mountain View High School, and then there's the private schools as well. I have a real, I don't know how to bridge that gap. I've been told something completely different than what's on the actual application, and that really, I think, kind of seals the deal for me. I don't feel that I can vote yes for this. I'll be voting no.
I, on the other hand, am inclined to support it. I grant the points that you make, but just to make some counterpoints. It is a first-time application. You're learning how to do this, and I recognize that, right? This is sometimes a tricky business to navigate. Some of my colleagues are suggesting we should even change it, so we'll get to that later. But I do appreciate that challenge of it. And I think this is actually maybe another example of what the mayor was referring to earlier in the arts context, which is with complicated things, it's usually best to find time to meet with some of us ahead of time, right? Because honestly, by the time you get here, we're only set up to do yes or no decisions, pretty much, right? And things that we could have suggested, hey, if you did this or you clarified that or whatever, I do office hours regularly. I know my colleagues also make themselves available. You come to the office hours, we can work through those things. We want you to be successful at these things, so we can offer coaching, suggestions, that kind of thing. By the time you get here, it's going to be yes or no, and it's very hard to do. So that's coaching for everybody, but for that. In any case, for this one, I'm inclined to say yes. I mean, I recognize your point. I do think it is the school's primary responsibility. That's the main way that tax money flows. But it is a somewhat porous boundary. For example, we support the crossing guards in town, but we ask the schools to kick in some money for that because it's kind of part of their world too. And that happens, right? It happens with our parking. It happens with a lot of things, that the boundary between the school and the city is somewhat porous. I think that you're sensing across here, I certainly have it, based on your background, some concerns about the clarity of the business model of the thing. Getting enough money to do this work, I'm sure, is hard, right? So maybe the business model is we run around with our tin cup and try to find money wherever the heck we can. But I would urge, going forward, bring a little bit more structure about how you think about the schools, how you think about the cities, what role we're doing. But bottom line for me is these problems that you are wrestling with are very serious problems. And if we don't wrestle with them in the schools, it blows back into the city in one way or another, a variety of ways I don't want to get into, but we know that's true. And if we can even just tamp down a few of those incidents in our town, we're going to get our $10,000 worth, in my opinion, right? So my inclination, with those caveats, an invitation to polish things next year, depending on how things here go tonight, but I'm inclined to vote yes.
I'm probably going to vote yes, but I'm not definitively there. And my concern is that we create a codependency. This is an obligation of the schools. It's not an obligation of the city. And if we go forward year after year grant making and go through this process of seeking money to fill the gap year after year after year, the chances are very good that in a very short period of time, not 50 plus years that it took for CHAC to get to that point, but the chances are good that in a relatively short period of time, the all-encompassing effort to fund the effort will take more effort than providing the counseling. And I just, my fear is that if we make this grant, we're doing nothing but basically reinforcing codependency that should not exist. So I'm going to wait until I hear the last remarks as well before I decide. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very good point, and I do want that to be heard, right? It's not an exact parallel, but there's sometimes these decisions that are made in one entity or another that spill over in unexpected ways. The one that I always think of is school buses. I think at some point, the school districts decided to save money by not having school buses anymore. I wasn't there for it. I've researched it. It's been hard to find out what actually happened. But the net result of that is the city ends up spending a lot of money on like parking enforcement and a whole bunch of other things, right? And so I share your concern, not to the point where I'm going to vote no, but your point is well taken. And one, goes to my point that I was making earlier, that there needs to be some clarity about the business model, because I suspect you're feeling deja vu about CHAC and not liking it.
So, yes, that's probably true. You folks do fabulous work. I know Marika Sayok. I knew her before she joined her government role and was, a local politician plus executive director, and I know how valuable the services are. It's very hard though for me to get past where the schools. I mean, so not only did Pacific Clinics build in a higher cost to MVLA because it reflected some of that overhead. And by the way, I am not of the, some people have that nonprofit mindset that you should never pay for overhead. I don't believe that. You need people to make organizations successful. Completely understand that. But if the schools are only paying for services and not the administration and delivery of them, then they're not fully doing their jobs. And so Pacific Clinics built in some of that. CHAC, I'm sure. So actually, when the MVLA went its own way and didn't go with Pacific Clinics, and CHAC was no longer able to provide services, they paid more to go to CASI services, which is good because we already knew CHAC's business model wasn't sustainable. But I just don't think it's our job to pay the administrative gap that the school districts aren't doing. I guess I've been there. I saw it fold. I just cannot do that. I do think you should go to, I saw you have one Rotary Club listed. Please go to Rotary Club of Los Altos. We can help you with that. There's people who are really, really can donate. But I mean, I happened to run into the former development manager at CHAC just in the past week. And, it was a hard job, right? So, but I just can't have us enable that in the long run, non-constructive business model that we saw such a tragic failure of, which, so I can't support it. Not because I don't think you don't do wonderful work. So let's take the vote just because we want clarity. Yes, go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
I can see my role this evening. I will make a motion that we approve this grant to CASI.
In the amount of?
Whatever it said in the thing, $10,000?
10,000, yeah.
Yeah, $10,000.
Second.
Oh, second.
Okay.
I can second it.
Yeah, I just was wondering if I was going to get one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Councilmember Daley?
No.
Councilmember Weinberg?
No.
Vice Mayor Lang?
Yes.
Mayor Meadows?
No, regretfully.
Motion fails 3-1. Councilmember Lang approved.
Okay, moving on to Compassion Week. So, 3 minutes.
Thank you for 3 minutes. I've been sitting back here looking at, my name is Jan McDaniel. I'm one of the founders of Compassion Week, which started a little over 14 years ago. We are volunteer run and very proud to be a foundational organization started here in the city of Los Altos. I've been sitting back there looking at the city's mission to be a sustainable, vibrant, and inclusive community in which to live, work, visit, and play. And Compassion Week's vision is to build a strong and vibrant community. And we do that by bringing people together for what is now a 10-day event to support the needs and of many members of our community, but mostly to put a spotlight on the organizations that do work every single day and to connect people with other neighbors and friends, colleagues, I would say students, together in acts of service. Last year, we were able to raise our visibility in the city of Los Altos because of the grant that we did receive. So much fun. We did focused on built 2 Habitat Playhouses where we had in the parking lot of the community center, which we had 80 people volunteer, and about 40 of them were students, high school students. That was really fun for them. We hosted an open mic night with a lot of help from Manny's team. First time for teens here, and we had over 100 teens participate. And along with that, we did a teen service night where we brought in projects so that the teens could work together. And we also did put together mental health kits for both youth and seniors in our community. And the funding that we are asking for would be to help support the kit materials and the pizza that we bought for open mic, and a lot of other things like for families this year, we wanted to add for families with young children. We wanted to have a concert. We have an artist who sings beautiful family music around being compassionate and helpful. So, is that my 3 minutes? Wow, that was fast.
It was, Ms. McDaniels.
yeah.
I'm sure some of our questions will allow you to
Yes,
get
okay,
more
great.
information out.
Yes.
So, which colleague would like to ask questions first? Go ahead, Councilman.
I don't have
McNally.
any questions, Jan. I know what Compassion Week is about, and I'm eager to support this grant. So, you could have asked for more.
We need it, but we.
Go ahead, Councilmember Weinberg. Yeah.
Thank you. How specifically, how was the grant that you received last year used? It was $5,000, right?
I think it was 5,500, but it might have been 5,000. It was used specifically to fund the kit materials for the youth mental health and also the senior mental health. So there are kits that we have a teen council, and we work with Alcove to develop what is needed inside these kits. And so it was funding the materials for the kits. And it was the same thing for the senior adults. So money was used to purchase that.
So without the grant last year, you wouldn't have been able to have any kits?
Very good question. We wouldn't have had as many kits, and we wouldn't have had kits that were specifically targeted for delivery in the city of Los Altos. So I think we might have had kits, but we scaled them significantly and were able to do much more with Alcove and for the senior kits because of that. But I wouldn't say we wouldn't have had them because they're much needed, and they volunteers love to learn about senior loneliness while they're packing a senior kit, right? In fact, it was almost all seniors who packed the kits for the senior loneliness and well-being. And the same thing with the youth kits. We had all youth learning about it and hearing about it. So,
and then you're also given a lot of in-kind assistance by the city. Is that right?
In-kind, how would you describe that, sir?
Well, facilities, staff has been made available to go volunteer their time.
That's a really great, yeah. Actually, the city came to Compassion Week several years ago and asked us if we would like to host some things in the new rec center, the new center, because they wanted to draw more people there in a variety of ways, right?
Okay.
So we
let me
have used some facilities, but mostly we use other facilities here in Los Altos.
Okay, I'd like to look to staff. What city facilities does Compassion Week use?
I believe they use a multi-purpose room at Grant in the past, as well as at the community center.
I can
as
actually answer that question very
I'd
specifically.
I'd like to hear
Oh,
from
okay.
staff on this. Thank you.
Sorry.
And I believe also some rooms at the community center as well.
You have any idea what the financial value of that in-kind assistance is?
I would have to look. Typically, the rooms are rented over several hours, but it would be at the nonprofit rate. So I wouldn't call it a substantial amount of money, but there's certainly a value to it.
And then what are the opportunities that are made available to staff to volunteer?
So for staff, we allow staff to take the time off to volunteer. We encourage them to volunteer in teams. So it's often the city manager's department or planning department will, during the week, we'll pick different days, and we have a pretty high percentage of employees who participate.
You have any idea what the value of that volunteerism is?
If we were using the hourly or fully burdened cost, that would be a significant contribution, yes. But I wouldn't want to try to ballpark a figure without knowing how many people specifically volunteered.
So you're not able to give a range, or just note that it's significant?
I would say significant, but I would hesitate again to give a range. And it also varies by year. We make it available, and we have more or less participation in different years. So it would be hard to provide that estimate, but I would call that a significant amount of funding, yes.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any more questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So to follow up that question, would it be fair to say that when city staff participates in that, we get something in return, namely team building and a sense of belonging in the community and things like that? So it's not purely, send them off to labor, that we get some intangible benefits as a staff group as well.
Certainly, I agree with this statement, Vice Mayor.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. And then I wanted to I think this is a goal, but I wanted to, a goal is that during this week, you're showing people opportunities to be of service in their community in the hopes that they like that and resolve to go on and connect. I mean, it's not like we want 51 indifference weeks.
Right.
Like,
You're so right. And if we had time, I could share the most amazing stories.
Yeah, I mean, maybe one story.
I'll give you one.
Yeah.
So this is a recent one. We focused a lot on teen mental health last year, and we did we thought it would be fun if teens baked for the open mic night. And so we had a group we had it as a project, and youth signed up, and sure enough, 12 young girls showed up to bake for this teen open mic night. And maybe this isn't a good example, but a father came to pick up his daughter from that event, which I happen to lead because I love teens and I love to bake, and I'm food certified, so I could lead an event like that. And the father came up to me with tears in his eyes and said, her name was Elaine. My daughter Elaine lost her mother 3 years ago, and all she's wanted to do was learn how to bake. And I've never been able to teach her how. Now, I know Elaine now. And every time we do, we have a group of people who serve meals at Life Moves. We bake for Hope's Corner. There's a number of different things. I call Elaine up or text her and say, we're baking, and she's there. So that's one example. And if I do this work because of those examples. Yeah. And I know that it changes this community.
Thank you.
So I remember I went to Los Altos United Methodist Church for one of the early Compassion Weeks, and it was in the, I'll call it an older multipurpose room. I don't know if that's the right description.
We still use that room for a ton of Compassion Week events.
Okay. And so my question is, what is the relationship between Los Altos United Methodist Church and this, you say it's now a 10-day event with this effort. I'll call it an effort. The right word's escaping me at the moment, but
We call it a movement, actually.
yeah, okay. So this movement. So
Yeah.
what is the church's role, and what are the goals? I mean, it just I think I probably said this last year. It just keeps getting bigger. I'm not quite sure. I remember it as grassroots, and
And it still is grassroots, which drives me absolutely crazy because I don't know an organization that has 275 events in a 10-day period we had 4,700 volunteers last year, right? I mean, and we started with 14 years ago at Los Altos United Methodist Church, where we shut down church one Sunday morning and said, we got to walk the talk. And so it was about 300 people then. And 4 years after, we kept growing and growing, and we realized in our third year that when we were looking at the people who were volunteering, it was 70% people from the community. And we were like, oh, there's an untapped need here. And we went to the Los Altos Community Foundation at that point. It wasn't the Los Altos Mountain View, and said, we think we got something here. And could you give us some advice? What do you think? Blah, blah, blah. And they said, you should turn this into a community-wide event. And we'll help sponsor that with a small grant, and we'll share some of our resources to help get the word out. And we'll put someone on your planning team. And so that's kind of how it started. And it grew. We consider ourselves, to be honest with you, kind of a multi-faith effort. We have 12 different faith communities. We have Baha'i, Buddhist, Jewish, LDS, Lutheran, Los Altos Lutheran, St. William, St. Nicholas. So, I mean, we have a broad coalition of faith, of the Episcopal Church, of faith leaders that sort of plan it and execute it. But we also have Kiwanis and the Lions Club and Slobs and the National Charity League. I mean, we have all these other groups that kind of coalesce around this one now 10-day period.
Okay. Thank you. Does Mountain View contribute financially?
We have not put in for a grant request. They have in the past, and we will this year. They have given us space, signage, and some of the similar things. Yeah.
And Los Altos Hills?
Los Altos Hills has, so we haven't put a grant in for Los Altos Hills. We don't do a whole lot in the hills, to be honest. We do support Hidden Villa, but the direct impact isn't as much in the hills, although their city council together adopted a project last year and worked together on a project at Hidden Villa. And so it was, so they're very supportive. They support us with communication. There's a city manager out into their community as well.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that's my questions. You didn't have any questions, Councilmember? No. Okay. So do we have any public speakers on this item? I don't see any. All right, so bring it back for a decision. Councilmember, you already voiced support. Any comments on this side of the dais?
I'm supportive.
Okay. Councilmember Weinberg.
I intend to vote no, and I think Compassion Week is fantastic, but for the reasons that every year when you apply, it's the same thing. I think that the city really is contributing a lot. I wish there'd been an acknowledgement of that in the application, although that's not determinative of my vote.
So as I started out this whole evening, which feels very long at this point, and we're only like halfway through, you do great work. I struggle with having seen it at the grassroots phase, and this large and kind of amorphous, though successful and meaningful organization, I don't know why we support it financially versus, I mean, it's already a tremendous benefit with the space that we either contribute or at reduced fees and allowing staff. I have historically voted no on this, not because I don't value you, but the work that is done and Compassion 10 days, as it's going to be now, I just don't know that this is the city's role. I struggle with this, so I guess we'll have you.
Shall I begin again?
Yes, shall you call the question?
I would like to move that we grant Compassion Week the sum of $5,500 as requested.
Second.
Councilmember Daley.
Yes.
Councilmember Weinberg.
No.
Vice Mayor Lang.
Yes?
Mayor Meadows.
No.
Motion fails due to a tie vote.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I encourage you all to participate, and you can, most of our activities are groups of 10 or less, so
Yes.
hope to see you.
We do a lot of volunteer work, actually.
I know.
So, all right. Live Oak Adult Day Services, is there anyone from that organization here? No. Okay. I don't know. Are there any public speakers for this item? Okay. You were going to say something, Councilmember. No. Okay.
I'm not even in a motion-making mood.
Okay. All right. So I don't really feel that the proper work has been done for us to, if this is something we wanted to support, there would probably be a lot of work that could be done by staff and the senior commission to determine whether this is the right organization or not, and how, and maybe it's something, whatever. There's just.
Yeah, I mean, and
Yeah.
the counts that they were indicating in terms of LaSaltans involved were minuscule.
Minuscule, right.
And,
Okay.
and it's not as if our senior commission doesn't have a long historical connection with a bunch of agencies. That's the right entrance point for serving us. So I don't even want to discuss it any
Yes.
further.
Council member?
And I think it's important to note for anyone who's thinking of applying in the future. I had a lot of questions, as I'm sure everyone else did, about the application. There's no one here from Loads to answer those questions. And I don't know if maybe I scared people away because I was too aggressive earlier. But one way or another, I mean, if you're going to ask the city for money but not send a representative to make the pitch and answer questions, then I don't believe it was really a serious application.
So I don't think we even need to ask for a motion on this one. Okay, so we'll move on to Los Altos Mountain View Community Foundation with their proposal for the summit.
I just discovered this goes down, and that is amazing for short people like me. Good evening, council members and staff. I'm Abby Carlin Resnick. I am the Director of Community Impact and Operations at the Los Altos Mountain View Community Foundation. I am very pleased to be here this year to request support for LAMVCF's second Changemaker Summit. This is a civic engagement event designed to support the local social sector with inspiration and practical tools. We were incredibly gratified with the response to our first summit, and we were grateful for the support from the council last year. We exceeded our participation goal, which was incredible. Thank you, Mayor Meadows and Vice Mayor Lang, for attending. I believe you got to learn about email marketing and strategic planning, perhaps, if I'm remembering photos correctly. This coming year, for which the request is for, we are looking to expand and refine design the summit based on our learnings from this past year, and your support will allow us to continue to offer this event for free. I also want to take a moment. I noticed there were some questions about the in-kind support. Councilmember Weinberg, you had asked about that previously for other folks. So I did want to note that we did receive in-kind support this past year and are planning to again this year for use of the garden house, and that the value of that was $420 based on the nonprofit rate.
Thank you very much. Okay, do we have questions for Ms. Carlin Resnick?
Thank you for being here. As I understand it, the Changemaker Summit is open to people who are not part of, not when I forget the exact word, you're sponsored, your brood, right?
Yes.
So other people who are involved in some other worthwhile thing, or perhaps just wondering if they should start one, can also use the resource.
Correct. Yes, this is open to the public. We offer it for free for folks who are in our either organizations based in one of our 3 communities or residents of our 3 communities. If they are either of those outside of our communities, we charge a very nominal fee because we really want to demonstrate that this is an investment in our local communities.
Thank you.
Any questions? Questions? I don't have any questions either, actually.
Okay.
Having attended. As did you, right? Right. Do we have public speakers on this item?
We had one, I'm not.
Yeah. You guys are our guests, go for it. If you want to hear more, I attended and I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Good. All right. Thank you very much. And for the microphone, I'll say that she attended and enjoyed it thoroughly. So, all right. So that's in the public record now. All right. Deliberation, comments? No?
Of all the things on the list tonight, this was my top priority. I think it is a great deal. We attended last year. I thought it was, honestly, I went in a little skeptical, right? Sometimes these things can be gab fests. It's turned out to be immensely practical. I took away things that I could use in other organizations. I was able to share at the table about how to interact with elected officials, which people here are learning tonight. It's a fraught and complicated thing. But I was really struck by how practical it was. It had a real how-to feeling. And I also like the fact that it was all over the place. And particularly, one of the strengths of LAMVCF is to cultivate, to let people who think they have an idea explore it. And I thought it was also great for somebody who was perhaps a little nascent and stuff. So I thought it was right up the center of what the city needs in terms of helping to build community, and I'm very supportive of this.
In general, LAMVCF is a great force multiplier, and the Changemaker Summit is a perfect example of that. It's a case where $1 spent yields 10 to 1 return on equity, basically, because the people go forth from that summit and then they themselves contribute to ongoing, happenings and improvements and community benefits. So I am 110% for this one.
Councilmember Weinberg?
I think that the proof is in the pudding, and I have heard nothing but good things about the summit. For the reasons that have already been mentioned, I am inclined to support this, with the exception of the $2,000 request for staff time. Staff is going to be paid for anyway, and I think that there is a history on this council of not paying for staff time. I know we didn't give the full request last year, and I remember that was also because of staff time or another reason, but I would support this at $8,000.
I also support this. 8,000's fine, 10,000's fine. I'm not sure that I'm up to quibbling at this point, but so I will let the vice mayor make a motion, and let's see what we're going to be voting on.
I would like to move that we accept this grant proposal at $10,000.
Second.
Councilmember Daley.
Yes.
Councilmember Weinberg.
No.
Vice Mayor Lang.
Yes.
Mayor Meadows.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-1 with Councilmember Weinberg opposed.
Okay. Do we have anyone here from our final applicant, Loved Twice? Yeah, okay. All right, I think we're probably in the same situation. I assume there's no public speakers here for Loved Twice? All right. So with that, I assume we're not going to discuss, and we have no motion to make on that. Okay, no disagreement. All right, so that actually takes us through that discussion item. And so obviously we don't cover the informational items. They're in the packet for our and the public's perusal. We're now going to go on to staff reports, council reports, and directions on future agenda items. I will start off. So there was a State of the City last Friday. Very good event, as always. But I neglected to actually recognize some of the people who helped make this city successful. So I want to do that publicly now, even though I reached out to a lot of you individually. So I want to recognize our city manager and our staff and all the people who I didn't ask to raise their hands and stand up at the meeting. Assistant City Manager John Maginot. Mr. Carnesecca did actually get an explicit acknowledgement, so. And city attorney, city clerk, without our staff, we would be nothing. So really appreciate all that you do to keep Los Altos the wonderful place it is. And the chief too. She's not here this evening, but she deserves great kudos for that too. I also neglected to acknowledge my wonderful colleagues here, with whom we have wonderful discussions every time we're sitting in these chairs, and I always learn something from each of you, and I suspect it's the same for all of us. So I wanted to make up for that that omission on my part, so thank you to all of you. So in addition to the State of the Cities, on May 7th, I attended the Champions for Youth, which is the Challenge Team culmination luncheon, and there was just a wonderful adult and youth champion. It was amazing to hear about both of their works in the community. On May 9th, this past Saturday, Campbell opened a brand new library, and so I attended that grand opening and, seen one set of library shelves, seen them all. Not that they're not in a very beautiful building. It's nice, but, shelves are kind of shelves. But so that was good. And today I had the privilege of seeing our young folks and giving checks, those and what are they? Rather old monetary system to our Margaret Thompson essay winners at the History Museum. So that was also fun. So that's the activities I've been up to. But again, I want to be sure that you, colleagues and staff, know that I regret not expressing public appreciation for you. So, all right, who would now like to go? I'm not going to suggest any future agenda items, but I would like you to, if you will.
So the mayor was busy with life and weddings and all kinds of stuff. So I had the pleasure of cutting the ribbon at the farmer's market last week for the first farmer's market of, it's the week before last. 2 weeks ago, for the first farmer's market of the season. Lots of fun, and I encourage everybody to come out and enjoy the farmer's market on Thursdays between now and the fall. This is it's Camelot in Los Altos.
All right.
I'll
Vice
just
Mayor?
say I went to the State of the Cities. I thought if it was a rap battle, you would have dropped the mic and walked off. You did a great job. Very nice.
Drop the mic.
I was.
Drop the gavel.
Right,
No.
there we go. No, I thought you did an excellent job, particularly highlighting the fact that we need to be direct subjects and not direct objects in the change of sentences that are going on around us. So I thought it was very strong in putting that thesis. Well done.
Oh, thank you very much.
I agree with everything that the Vice Mayor just said about your speech. It was absolutely fantastic. I am sure that having watched both speakers, there are residents of the Hills who are now looking for ways to emigrate into our city. I was particularly impressed by your but your tale of the history of how we're a city that is opinionated, and we're not all in lockstep. I mean, I some of the things that have happened since I've been on council, going back to when I was a commissioner, I always thought, this is awful. Where this is dividing us as a community. But the reality is that we are a city that has a tradition of differing viewpoints, and people. The one thing I think that does unite us is that we care very passionately for our city, and it's because of that passionate caring that people get so motivated to become involved. And sometimes you can't grow the pie. Sometimes it's a zero-sum game, and that has to be battled out. So I appreciate that perspective. That was important for me to hear. I also attended the culmination of the Youth Commission Council Academy, which a very, very special thank you to the city clerk, Melissa Thurman, who brought the knowledge and the expertise of this to our, what was once a youth commission, but is no longer a commission. I think it was very meaningful. I think that the kids did fantastic. And it was a lot of fun to see. I think the parents really enjoyed it. I gave a public comment. The Vice Mayor gave a public comment. And I think everyone really enjoyed it. And like I said, it was fun to see. So I believe that this is a great use of city resources moving forward and positively serving the youth of our community.
And for the record, both of us in our public comments stayed within the time limit.
There is one thing that the vice mayor and I should have reported on. One of us should have reported on it at least, and that's the NCLA meeting that we had this week. The one key for the meeting was that we looked at the budget for the renovations, and I will say that the budget slightly exceeds the tax revenue that is appropriate, that is collected for this task, and that the city itself may have some may be asked to contribute in some ways, and that's for a subject for another conversation. Oh, it was written on the back of one of the ones that we didn't vote on. Anyway, so the library renovations, they look wonderful, and I'm not going to opine on the merits of the renovation project, but it will be a very significant investment in our Civic Center campus. So I'm excited.
City Manager, do you have any updates?
Nope, not tonight, Mayor.
All right. 5 seconds? Until what? Oh, there we go. Okay, well, call this meeting.